Let's bring in Pat McAfee, former All-Pro punter for the Colts, and now radio host. He's doing everything now. What was your rookie salary?
It was $350,000, I believe, and I got a $47,000 signing bonus being picked 222, and I spent every single dollar before my second year. Yep.
What was your biggest purchase?
So I bought a Cadillac Escalade the day I was drafted because I didn't fully understand what a signing bonus meant. I thought that money was just going to come right into my bank account. It turns out it didn't show up for like 3 months. Almost got the car repoed. I had to go into the bank with like a Google news story that this was the money I was going to get.
How are you, by the way?
I'm excellent, man. How are you? It's always such an honor to come on the show since I've been such a fan for so long. Thanks for having me. Life is good. How's everything over there?
Oh, it's great. No complaints. Got a beautiful man cave. We got to get you in the man cave. It's great. Got beer on tap. We got a side of the field for kicking. We got basketball hoop there. We got a nice little crib here.
I saw whenever Bleacher Report made the big move. I think I watched. It was either McLovin or Paulie giving a tour behind the scenes while you were cutting a promo, and that thing just looked absolutely majestic over there. Well deserved, obviously, and it'd be an honor to come in there and slam some beers with the boys.
What did you take away from last night? What should we take away?
I think preseason, this is what I thought last night, actually. Less guys are playing in the preseason, even more so than in the past. Like, nobody really took preseason that serious, but the first couple games, it was always a time like, let's get them one series, let's see how it goes, let's get the warm-up, let's get the team routine down so we can practice this so we don't look like dummies whenever the regular season comes. But now it almost feels like preseason is just becoming an extended practice, which I kind of respect. I assume that at some point they're going to get rid of a preseason game or two to kind of adjust the schedule to either 17 or 18 games. I assume the next CBA there's going to be a lot of talk about it. I was happy for the young guys going out and make some plays. That Sheehy character from the Browns taking a punt back, I didn't love that for the brand, but I loved it for the guy's story sleeping on the streets. I just think the preseason is becoming an extended practice, getting a chance to showcase the draft guys and the young guys. And for us, for the Indianapolis Colts, the city I live in, we better hope Luck gets healthy because the offense looked bad, but Chad Kelly came out and made some plays. I enjoy that football is back, but I think every time I watch a preseason game, I just get a little bit more excited for the regular season and good football again.
What will get you cut in preseason?
So, while I was watching Hard Knocks with old Gruden and the Raiders over there in Napa Valley, the thing that'll get you cut in preseason, now granted, if you're a first-round pick, you can do whatever you want. You'll never get cut for the first couple of years. But learning how to practice is a big deal. If you're like a fringe player and a bubble player, and at practice you're taking guys down to the ground and you're hitting people and you're risking a lot of injury to people that are important on your team, like Jonathan Abram was basically.
Yeah.
That is something that can definitely get you cut because you got to learn how to practice. Missing meetings and being immature is something that gets you cut. But at the end of the day, it's all a numbers game, man. It's kind of one of those things where guys become cap casualties or roster casualties where we need another safety, so we got to get rid of an offensive lineman, and you just kind of hope somewhere else picks it up. But it's all a numbers game, and it's also a big maturity game for a lot of the young guys to kind of figure out that this is a business now, and it's not just a kid's game anymore.
He's Pat McAfee, former All-Pro punter. I think you told Rich Eisen recently that you tried out for the Bears.
Yeah, I was going to go kick field goals for the Bears, Dan. I mean, that would have been a pretty cool story. Chuck Pagano is their D coordinator now. He was the head coach for the Colts for a long time, friend of mine. And they were obviously looking for a kicker after the situation last year with Cody Parkey, who's a great kicker. If he hits the ball just like an inch to the right, none of this happens, but obviously the Chicago Bears were seeking a kicker for their team, storied franchise, and they hired a kicking consultant for their team who was actually my kicking coach coming out of college. So it seemed as if all the stars were aligning for a potential comeback for me to come kick field goals. I put it through an entire stress test with their kicking coach. The ball was flying well. I think I was going to be the first guy in the history of the league that both punted and kicked successfully in the NFL, and I got on a plane and my old ass knee just started to swell up. I couldn't even get to the bathroom, and it was like
no.
I know, Dan. It was like a moment between me and my knee that was like my knee literally was talking to me like, "Hey, man, we're not doing this again. Let's just talk into microphones, enjoy our lives, have some vitamins. We're not getting back into the rigors of kicking footballs again." But I was all in. I was ready to do it, full focus, full steam ahead, and I think it would have been a cool thing. But now I get a chance to follow in some dreams and focus on some other cool stuff. But it was a real moment of closure for me whenever I couldn't get up and go to the John at about 32,000 feet sitting on a Southwest flight.
But you look at these extra points. It feels like the kickers have gotten better with field goal kicking, but not kicking extra points. Why is that?
So I think whenever the field goal got moved back to a 33-yard field goal, the initial thought was we're going to find out quickly that there are tiers to kicking in the NFL. There's like the elite kickers in the NFL, the guys that are everybody knows them. The Gostkowskis, the Tuckers, the Vinatieri's, the guys that are at the top of their game for a long, long time. Then there's a lot of guys that kind of get on this kicking carousel where they kick for a team, they get cut, they try to get hot somewhere, and they just kind of bounce around team to team. And I think the extra point is something that used to be a gimme, obviously. You used to walk on the field, you could hit a terrible ball and it would go through. But with 33 yards, I mean, there's a chance for a little bit of a miss. And I think it just shines a spotlight on who's good, who's worth a lot of money, who can win their team games, and also the guys that maybe aren't there yet mentally or physically. So I think it's just one of those things where you have to focus on a 33-yard kick. You have to hit a good ball. You can't steal a point there anymore. And I think it just kind of puts a little bit of a spotlight on the people that aren't as great as the ones that are at the top of the game.
Got a training camp story with no names attached to it?
Well, I mean, training camp is such a and I think it's starting to come out more and more now. And as we live in this more woke society, you never hear a retired player say he misses training camp, right? I think it's becoming more of a recognized thing that training camp is not a good time for a lot of people, unless you have like 4 kids under the age of 5 and you get a chance to go stay at a dormitory away from your kids so you can sleep for a little bit. Training camp is a tough one. And for me, it wasn't obviously as physically tough, and for Vinatieri and I, it wasn't that physically tough. So it was always one of those things where we just tried to keep it light. We always tried to have a good time. Every single day there was a fight on the field, basically. If a couple guys got into it, I felt as if it was my job in the locker room afterwards to grade the fighting, to give scoring as if I'm a judge in a UFC fight, just to kind of calm the tension a little bit. Every single time a rookie would have to get up there and sting, I felt as if it was my job to motivate them to do their best. It was one of those things of balancing not only morale, but also egos, and just try to get the team through it. So whenever we hit the game day and the regular season, the whole team's running. But training camp is long for those guys that have to bang their heads into each other. And for me and for most kickers and punters around the league, I'd assume our job is just let's keep these people happy, and let's hopefully not get beat up through this thing while they are literally grinding away and we're just sitting over here chugging chocolate milk.
Yeah, I look at the situation with the Colts, and you're there in Indianapolis with Andrew Luck, that it started out as something small, and then it's sort of staying with us a little bit, and maybe staying a little bit longer than we thought with this calf injury. How concerned do you think we should be about Andrew Luck's calf injury?
This is a nightmare, Dan. Now they don't tell me anything, right? The Colts refuse to tell me anything. I got good friends in the athletic training room. I got friends in the equipment room. I got friends that are still on the team. Obviously, Vinatieri's still wearing his Depends diapers and kicking out there. He's going to be in my wedding. I mean, I got good friends in there, but nobody will tell me anything. They're keeping this one pretty tight-lipped. And whenever I saw him first sitting out some practices and OTAs, they're like, oh, he's just hanging out. I was like, oh, they're just giving him a break. I respect it. Let Jacoby Brissett get some reps. Let the other guys get some reps in there. And now that it's kind of followed into training camp, I mean, this is a time where quarterbacks and wide receivers have to get their rhythm and have to get their timing, and the offensive line has to get the cadence down. Maybe there's new people. So this is an important time for quarterbacks to get on the field and practice. So whenever Andrew Luck wasn't practicing, it kind of took me back to when he was sitting out and his shoulder was bad, but they weren't telling anybody how bad it was, or his liver or kidney, or I think he had like 45 injuries in one year where they weren't telling anybody. They were just kind of sitting him out. And now that they're saying he's redoing some of the rehab process. I mean, I think all of Indianapolis is having nightmares about what happened in the past, and I think the Indianapolis Colts can only go as far as Andrew Luck leads them. So I think we're all banking on that calf being healthy because everybody's saying the goal is to get him back for week 1. But I think we're missing some valuable time here in training camp, some chemistry time with his wideouts, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know that the Indianapolis Colts fans, myself included, are hoping that damn calf comes back quicker than later, and I hope it happens. But I know nothing, Dan. I know absolutely nothing.
Is Andrew Luck cooler than what we think, or dorkier, nerdier than what we think? He's nicer than what you think. He's like the nicest human I've ever talked to, and I think the footage from him getting speared by another man and then congratulating that person on the tackle and all that stuff. I think it's very obvious he's a very nice guy, but he and our conversations are tough, man. I've never read a book in my entire life. He runs a book club. He's like Oprah. I mean, he and I don't relate on much. But I don't think he's a dork or a nerd. I don't think he's cool. I just think he's the nicest guy I've ever met, and he's also the smartest human I've ever met. But having a conversation with him, you have to use context clues to know what the hell the words are that he's using in the sentences. It's like SAT word, Pat, you're the da-da-da, and I'm like, I have no idea what that means, but I'm going to go ahead and smile, laugh, and just keep it moving, and hopefully we become friends someday. Among the places you'll be able to see or hear Pat this fall, the Pat McAfee Show will stream weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon on DAZN and Westwood One Radio. That debuts Monday, September 9th. When are you getting married?
We haven't settled on a date yet. It is in the 2020 year, though, and forever's a long time, Dan. Happily ever after. Fairy tales, all that stuff. It took a long time for me to get to this point. I'm 32 now. I'm finally engaged, and I'm excited for it. But this wedding planning has not – it's no joke, Dan. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and all I know is I would like pizza and fried chicken as the food options, and I'm not sure that's going to get passed.
I'd like to go to the reception.
I'd love to have you, Dan. I think you're invited, bro. You should definitely come. You should bring the Danettes to the reception.
All right. You guys interested in going to McAfee? We don't want to go to the wedding.
Well,
do I have to go to the wedding? If I'm going to the reception, do I have to go to the wedding?
No.
Oh,
no,
good.
No.
Okay.
I'm an American. I understand that. That is something that people don't always want to be a part of. But I would assume that the wedding is going to be entertaining as well. But I completely understand. I like the party as well. So if you guys were at the reception, I think the entire morale of the group would be lifted as soon as you all walked in the room.
I like it. Can you place us at Andrew Luck's table?
See, I don't know if Andrew's going to come. We're going to send out.
I'll be glad to come to the McAfee nuptials. A lovely centerpiece there. I had the over on the cocky special teamer ever getting married. This one's going to be over in 6 months, Dan. Can't find my flip phone.
Is that Paulie?
Yeah.
That is a top 5 Andrew Luck impression right there.
Well, Paulie did it to Andrew Luck. We had Andrew Luck on the phone a couple of years ago, and I just said, you know what? Let's go for it. And I said, Andrew, we got a guy named Paulie who does an impersonation of you. And I don't know if he knew that, we were making fun of him. It was just Paulie was doing his Andrew Luck impersonation.
Did you sound exactly like that right there? Because you kind of got a little Beavis Butthead in there, too. It sounds like there was a little,
Paris Campbell, Rookie of the Year, guaranteed Paris Campbell.
I love that. Dan, can I ask you a question?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so when I had you on my show, I asked you about what it's like to have a daily show for so long and be at the top of the mountain for so long, which you and the Danettes have. And you bet on yourself and you bet on your team whenever you started, which is eerily similar to what we're doing. You're an inspiration for everything that my team and I are doing. I'm about to get into the daily radio sports conversation world. Do you have any suggestions or any tips or any advice so I can survive past a week or two without getting fired?
Be curious and have people around you who will keep you honest and offer up suggestions, because there are times when somebody will say, what about this guest? And I'll say, no. And then somebody else will say, no, it'll be good for the show. Always do what you think will be good for the show, not necessarily for you, but for your show. But have topics. Don't be afraid to have topics. Don't tell all your stories. Pace yourself. And if you're having people who contribute on the show, make sure people who are listening know their names. That was one of the things that when we first started, I wanted to make sure, even though we were on TV, you never leave out the people on radio. And I would always say, Danettes, just, raise your hand or, make sure I acknowledge you so the audience knows who you are. And that was one of the things I did from the outset. I wanted you on radio to never feel like I excluded you. And a lot of times TV will do that. So just a couple of suggestions that I would have going into battle.
Well, I can't thank you enough for that. I'll keep that in mind and remember it. Anytime a legend speaks of some advice, I tend to listen and hope to listen. I got a chance to learn from Vinatieri in kicking balls world. I got a chance to now learn from Dan Patrick in the radio world and the Danettes, and I can't thank you enough. I'm a very lucky dude, and I'm excited to get started, boss man.
Thank you, Pat. Good to talk to you. We appreciate your time. That's Pat McAfee. He's starting a new radio show on Westwood One and DAZN.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.